I feel like the internet has been imploding because of Nicki Minaj's latest tirade and going off on Cardi B's children. And I think a lot of people are saying like, oh, kids should be left out of it, this and the other, she's gone too far. And while I agree, I'm not shocked that she's went after culture and other individuals' children, because if you think about it, Nicki Minaj has always positioned herself in a way through her art, her persona, and the way that she dresses throughout the years to be associated in some type of way with children and mixing it with adult themes. I'll say it once and I'll say it again. I personally believe that Nicki has an obsession with adolescence and that whole concept of like innocence in children. And I'm gonna show you why, because there's been so many different things in her art that honestly has shown how she really is internally and how she has positioned herself in a way that she will always be associated with controversial themes that are inappropriate with children. Check out my last video where this comment comes from just to get the context of what I was talking about in regards to Nicki Minaj's Crash Out is honestly more spiritual than what normal people are actually like giving it credit towards. And I'm just gonna provide some examples and visuals from her career and her art that really shows you this obsession she has had with children, as well as individuals who also are associated with abuse of said individuals. Already in the beginning of her career, there was a lot of associations where she had associated herself like with like Disney and different cartoon characters. This below was a photo shoot that she did earlier on in her career where this was scenes from Alice in Wonderland. And for those in the know, Alice in Wonderland is riddled with a bunch of symbolism that has been rumored to be more so like those different types of like torture tactics from like declassified CIA files about MK Ultra and like programming individuals and how you can do like mind control. And this is the scene from where Alice eats food from the house and she grows really big inside the house. And then this is also scenes correlating with the Mad Hatter's Tea Party. Now, obviously one of the personas we know about Nicki Minaj is one of her alter egos is Nicki the Harajuku Barbie. And honestly, she's positioned herself throughout her career to be associated with this doll, this children's toy. It's in the beginning of her career when she came out with Pink Friday. You can see the very long legs and like kind of like the broken doll body. Once again, this is the album cover for Pink Friday. Again, here's a photo from Pink Friday, her debut album, and you can see how she's a doll and she has like the very extended legs, and you can see how her arms are ripped out from the body. Now, this is Nicki Minaj as, again, one of the personas of the Harajuku Barbie. And if you all are not you don't understand fashion, Harajuku is basically like these different types of girls that were really prominent back in Tokyo in fashion. But it's interesting that she used this as one of her personas because it's aligned with the themes of like being very colorful and like pink and bold and out there. But again, it appeals towards that audience of adolescents and children. But you can see the kind of animated face, but this is her channeling Roman. Now, who is Roman? Most of you have probably seen that clip, that interview clip of Nicki Minaj talking about who Roman is. And basically Roman is like this little boy that inhabits her. And if you type in Roman Zelensky, which is like the name, the full name of her, this persona, this entity that enters into her and also raps on certain tracks, and she says really debaucherous and like really expletive types of things. Well, if you actually type in Roman Zelensky, Nicki Minaj actually pops up. Now, if you go into fandom, you can see Nicki Minaj wiki and you type in like Roman Zelensky. This is what it's talking about, who that persona is. It gives the different stats. They say that the origin is in London. So, because Roman has like that British accent. Sexuality, you can see there. And then the personality, naughty, angry, aggressive, vulgar, carefree, comical, evil, threatening, etc. You see it. And you see the relatives here is Martha. Martha also has a British accent as well too. Martha has actually been shown in the Moment for Life video dressed as a fairy. Again, one of probably her most famous line is from Monster featuring Jay-Z, Rick Ross, and Kanye West. And you can see the two personas. You see Nicki the Barbie, and you see Nicki as a Roman. Again, taunting her, very vulgar with the tongue out. Again, this is really showing you like how like the sexual motivation behind Roman. But is there an individual who maybe influenced or maybe inspired the persona or the entity of Roman? Well, I showed you earlier that Nicki Minaj's persona of Roman is Roman Zelensky, but this is Roman Polanski. Now, Roman Polanski, he's still living, and he is a Polish-French filmmaker and actor. Remember this. Now, he's not British, but he's European. This is Roman Polanski's mugshot, and he's most controversial because he was charged with all of these different charges that you can see down here with a minor. Now, it should be noted that Roman Polanski pleaded not guilty, but then later would accept a plea bargain where it would include dismissal of the 5 more serious charges in exchange for a guilty plea. But remember, Roman Polanski is somebody who was like really big and prominent in film, also in Hollywood. Now, why Nicki would want to consciously be associated with somebody like this is beyond me. But again, we're seeing more of the themes and the patterns of positioning herself as a child in childlike spaces, as well as aligning herself with different types of individuals who have done harm or have been prosecuted for certain crimes against children. Another thing with the Roman persona is that Nicki has always aligned this with demonology as well, as if being possessed. Now, during that Grammy performance where she has sworn that it has blackballed her from ever getting a Grammy, this is one of the film things that she did going up until the performance, where you can see that she's kind of in a mental asylum, and she said, cause the priest in the clip says, what is your name? Because in demon exorcism, unless you know that demon's name, you won't be able to actually expel that demon from the host that's carrying it, because you wouldn't have authority. But then he asked Nicki, and Nicki says, my name is Roman. And look, this is from the Grammy performance. You can see her levitating, and she's doing that performance. She was performing Roman's Revenge. And to this day, I think that she probably really regrets this performance, because she's claiming that she's blackballed because she went ahead against the powers that be and did this performance, and when she should have played the game. And honestly, I would agree that she probably does regret this, because even this performance wasn't that memorable. It wasn't that iconic of a performance, to be honest. Oh, but there's more. You all remember this individual. This is Terry Richardson, a photographer. This is probably one of Nicki Minaj's most prominent photo shoots just in her career. But if you all look up Terry Richardson, he also is an individual who's riddled with controversies with different types of sexual assault types of allegations, and individuals, including models and underage individuals, making claims against this individual. And if you think I'm reaching, the impact is there. You can literally look at this individual's costume, and you can see they're channeling Nicki Minaj. Same here. You can see a costume. You can see that this channels Nicki Minaj. You don't even have to see the child's full face, and you can see the dual side wig of blonde and pink. Even in the Stupid Hoe video, she also positions herself not only as a doll, but also as a small child. You can see here there's an effect here in that video when she's kind of rapping with infancy, and she has her eyes really big. And we know that that's associated a lot with innocence and adolescence and babies. So we see that again too. And even in Nicki's career today, we still see this symbolism of duality and having multiples or legions of demons or entities within you. This is a photo shoot that she did when it says, and it sees the cover where it says Wonderland, and you can see the two duals. They use mirrors to do this type of duality photo shoot, almost insinuating that there's alters, multiple personalities. So when you hear things like when Cardi was saying oh, the tea is that you've already been diagnosed with schizophrenia, etc., there's definitely something to that, because we see there's been a lot of different types of art direction choices that have been made throughout Nicki's career. And just one more, just to really drive it home, because it's Halloween season. If we remember the Nicki Minaj and Ludacris video and song for My Chick Bad, Nicki Minaj also would embody Freddy Krueger. And Freddy Krueger, if you know anything about Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger was a janitor at a school, and he was accused by children for touching them inappropriately, and he was burned in a fire and would come back and haunt and come back to unalive all the children. So again, being aligned and associated with imagery, fictional characters, real characters that either torment children or actually children themselves. Anyway, that's about it. I just wanted to show some more visuals to kind of really drive it home and really try to piece things together for you. But like I said, Nicki Minaj's tirade about, you know, like her going off on culture and Cardi B's children, I'm not shocked, because honestly, I feel like Nicki Minaj has always been obsessed with children.